Holy guacamole, and welcome back to X's for Show, your premier show to get all the best responses to your favorite things, including Drag Race this week where we're covering All Stars 9 and the scariest Rusical ever. I'm Nico. You can check me out at Nico Action, and the show at X's for Show.
I sort of feel like we maybe needed to do more fruity extravaguti before we graduated to holy guacamole. So I just want to throw out there that extravaguti is still on the table, fruity or otherwise, and just, we're always coining catchphrases here, folks. I'm TK, and you can find me at TK Elemental. That could be a catchphrase. Anybody can say it.
You can find me at TK Elemental. No, hi, I'm Tori. I'm Tori. You can find me on the socials at SM Tori. That's Tori with an I.
Hello, I'm the scariest thing of all. I don't know. Use your imagination. Fill it in. That makes it the scariest. And I'm Jonah. I'm the unknown. There we go. I'm Jonah.
You got there.
At Peak Jonah, let's beat me, AK.
And I am the most terrified thing of all. I am your producer, Kev O'Reilly, who is stuck with these nuts. Make sure that you like, subscribe, and comment so that we know what you want us to cover in the future. But today we got a brunch cooking to talk about a little bit of a Rusical. We got brunch and a show this week.
One of my favorite drag experiences I've ever had was I was with Hot Older Boyfriend at the campground that we love to go to, camp out, and they would have these amazing drag brunches Sunday mornings if you could wake up. And they would literally get so popular that even though it was at the main location for the campground, you still had to have tickets and be reserved in advance because it would literally, the food truck would overfill for breakfast. And it just really feels right to kind of dial into one of the things that makes drag so awesome, which is getting to look at amazing ladies while stuffing your face full of bacon and drinking screwdrivers.
And no lines here, so line up, folks.
Come on down.
As far as we're concerned, you all have a reservation at this amazing drag brunch. Please drink up. What's everybody drinking? I have some Trappa. Can I get some more? Right? A little deliciousness going on. What's everybody got?
I got a Jewish iced coffee. It's like an Irish iced coffee, but I'm Jewish. I'm also actually Irish, so
we're all Irish.
Exactly. Everybody's Irish.
So you're McChosen.
I am drinking a bisexuality, but it is iced chai latte flavored.
I love that.
I'm drinking apple pie coffee.
I got me some OJ. I got me strawberry culotta. I am set. I am good.
Did y'all go to Dunkies this morning?
Oh, we did a Dunkin' trip this morning. That is right. If you're doing Jersey brunch, you got to do Wa or Dunkin'. You got two choices. I get on calls with people from work, and they're like, "Oh, what are you guys eating for breakfast?" We can literally hear those Jersey people eating. Is it that Wa place you people go?
That Wa place.
It's that Wa place, you fools.
Just so wild for me coming from the more northern side of Jersey, where we're like, Wawa, why would you go there? What's the point? You're just getting gas. Just leave.
My God, fighting words. So now it's time to, that was the scariest thing I've heard in a really long time. But now it's time to get to some Rusical. Guys, we got to start with this Rusical. I'm so excited. First off, I really liked it. I know that I didn't get to finish out my vote on the Rusical live, reactions. But I actually loved this Rusical a lot. And I just want to start our episode with, what was your overall thought on Rosemarie's baby shower? Every queen blew me away. Everybody really stepped up and played their role. I do think that Vanjie and Nina stole the show, and Roxxxy gave the performance of a lifetime. I don't know. Everybody should have gotten a beautiful benefactor's badge for this one.
This was my other S of the voting. This and Shade the Rusical. So like I said, at beginning and end, I think they've nailed it. Everywhere in between, a little shaky. But yeah, I mean, I thought this was very well done. It was really when I say this, it's going to sound insulting, but it was really sit-throughable without me getting nasty and being like, I don't like this, I don't like this, I don't like this. And that's not to be the highest thing that any of them can hope for, is that I'll sit through it and not be critical. It is that because of the way the episodes work and because it's Drag Race, you are always looking for like, okay, where's the flaw? Because that flaw is going to come back to haunt somebody. And this, I didn't have that same reaction. And I think there's multiple reasons for that I'm excited to talk about. But at the end of the day, I did actually, for the first time in a very long time, just sit and watch the entire thing and just kind of be like, okay, I'm just entertained.
I love that. And speaking of entertaining, Enter Torty. No, it didn't work. I'm so sorry.
Enter Tootie, like Extravagoody.
Tori, just start talking.
Tori, bless us with your voice.
Yeah. Also that.
So I love this. This was also an S tier for me. I think this is one of the best they've ever done. I was riveted from moment number one. I think everyone did very, very well. There were absolutely zero goose eggs among this whole team. Do I agree with the winners? That's a debate that we will certainly have. But the standouts for me were Plastique and Nina and Jorgeous. And yeah, I mean, Vanjie came out and did Vanjie for us. It was very, very well done.
Jonah, I can't wait. Because once I get to know your vote, I really get to know it. Wait, what is it? Is it once or when? How did you feel about this Rusical?
This is one of the best Rusicals they've ever done. And when we talked about it on Friday, one of the things I loved about it is that because it feels like an actual musical. This entire Rusical has an actual storyline. It has a plot. It's kind of following, not really following Rosemarie's Baby, not really following all these editing movies, but they take a concept and they stick with it and they run with it and it works. Everybody performed spectacularly. Nobody sounded bad. Nobody danced bad. Everybody did what they were supposed to do. They did the damn thing. I, as a fan of the show and as a fan of drag, could not be more happy with this episode, especially giving back faith to a season where I know people were feeling a little bit weird about it, and I really hope this installs that hope of like, no, this actually is a good season. No, these queens are incredibly talented. I hear what you're saying, Tori. Is it the specific top two I personally would have went with? I don't know. I think everybody did so well, and it's just kind of, splitting hairs to the point that any of these people could have been top two. If you wanted to pick any two queens, I'd be like, yeah, they could have been top two. Yeah.
Well, you heard it here. Jonah felt that all of the girls had split ends.
Well, not just split, divorced.
So, Kevo, how do you feel? Did you consciously uncouple from this Rusical after having an apple, or what?
It's very obvious that Rue loves the scary movie comedy style. And I think this musical especially pulls into focus how frequently they've tried to attempt to capture that and not really do it well. When you were saying that it didn't quite follow Rosemarie's Baby, but it was a lot in there, that's really what I was thinking of, where that is sort of the central focus, but then it pulls in other concepts from the same genre to have it be many parodies instead of just the one. And I think this is definitely a case where it really hit the mark. Unlike many others, like the Kardashian one, I don't think it ultimately. I think that was trying to be too many things. This focused on what it needed to be. And yeah, I think this was also one of my S's.
I love it. Let's get into this episode. I want to start with the opening, how it all began. I don't know that I think having Cut a Bitch for Charity exactly has that vibe that Charity is looking for. So that, they were kind of like, we are done with the snippers. Okay, rubies, be gone. I do think that there is this sort of sense of like, every girl is living their absolute best Mistress Brooks delusion. There is some level of, I can't believe they would come for me. I'm doing this for charity. I have to come for them. I'm doing this for charity.
We are all doing it for charity.
Yeah, everybody's doing it for somebody. Everybody's got, I don't know. I would love to get what you guys think about the fact that it was kind of just Roxxxy and Angeria cutting at each other with Gottmik in the middle going, why me?
I wish that they had gone the route of having RuPaul say in episode 1, guys, remember you're doing this for charity and remember you're not leaving. Be as cutthroat and crazy as possible. And I wish somebody had given them permission on camera, like for the audience to know as well. Go wild with this, no matter what. The only thing that can happen is that you don't win as much for your charity, but you will let the world know about them and you will play your best. This is the one season where you're not biting the hand of a girl that needs to be fed or anything like that. Like, you can go really crazy and then and have fun with it. And then that would have done 2 things. 1, we could have seen some really fun decisions. 2, I would rather see somebody do something really horrible, like cut somebody who didn't do well just to kind of kick them while they're down. But
Blue with the trembling lip.
But then never see a fight about it. The fights are so weird. Roxxxy, this was so weird, coming in the next week and yelling at somebody else for getting emotional, then pulling it back. Yeah. Weird, but also cool and cute. Very cute that you figured it out later. But all of the drama about it was really dumb to me, especially given that what we wound up with was what you said, Angeria versus Roxxxy snipping each other back and forth, which is actually kind of funny. But the way it manifested, we only really got to laugh about it in like the last 30 seconds of the last talk about the last snip. And I would have really loved this is so good. This is so funny. It's
the only thing that got McReilly adds to the dueling.
Yeah, exactly. So I would love sometimes for the show to circumvent the things that it's known for in order to do new things. And this is a case in which I would have loved to have done something else with the gameplay and circumvented the fake drama, because it just took up so much room and it left us nowhere.
Tori, where's your vibes on this? Do you think that the snippety goodness is all it's cracked up to be, or were you done with this well before they were?
I think because we never got to the point where someone won but wasn't going to get a badge. Whereas the last time that I saw something like this, it was like sometimes people they still just win. And it felt like there was a very concerted effort to not have that happen this time, which I found very interesting, because the badge, outside of getting to the end, doesn't actually give you the money. The lip sync gives you the money. You can still win the money. So then what's the point? So I wish it was more fun, but it's not quite what it wanted to be, I think. Jonah, what do you think?
I think there's some interesting ideas going on, but I do think they, when they're throwing the darts at the wall to figure what's the gimmick of this season, what are we going to do? I do think they needed to think about which ones actually mesh well together. I think the idea of a charity season is great. Snipping the queens, blocking the queens, doing that again, that's great. Having it be the same 8 contestants the entire time is also a great idea. But I think they need to fine tune what they want to do in terms of how do you make sure the drama gets going? How do you make this entertaining? How do you make it so it's not a slog to get through the season? And how do you make sure you keep the queens happy? And I don't know if they found the right balance yet with this season. So I understand a lot of the trepidation and the hesitancy for feeling weird about this season, because it is weird. They're getting on each other's nerves, and that equates to better TV because they're a little bit more annoyed at one another. But they also, the stakes are so low, they're not wrapping around to the stakes being so high. One of the best community quotes, the stakes are so low. I know the stakes are really low, but that's what just makes it worse. I think they just need to fine tune this idea, because if All Stars going forward is just fully just for charity, I think that's how you get bigger and better and the brighter stars to come back, where it feels like an All Stars. You don't want some stars or and insert.
I think Tori also hit something there with the way you said if it had played out differently, if the mechanics had worked differently, so we could have gotten more out of it. But I think the way that it ultimately played out, where it was mostly people just passing these snippers back and forth between the same people, it got a little repetitive and odd and not quite as engaging as I think they might have hoped based on the concept they came up with in the first place. And that's just something that happens with stuff like this sometimes. It's the luck of the draw. It's who you pick and how they choose to play the game. But it's like bringing immunity back at the beginning of a season kind of ultimately fizzled because it didn't go anywhere. And when you bring a concept in and you don't quite land it the way that you want to, it affects the whole season.
And I think one of the places we really see that come through is where when you're trying to plan out a season, it can't be all masks and butterflies. There's going to be seasons where the most interesting thing is chocolate. And so you wind up with these sort of device situations where I really do think the next way they should promote this, if they've learned anything, is 8 queens enter. No queens leave. It's a death bowl. And like, you actually kind of are trapping these girls in a house. I almost would love to see this Trader style. Like,
or
because,
big
Yeah,
revelry.
no, totally.
Well,
that's what I'm saying. Like,
and
that's
part of my concern about that is then when, and please correct me if I'm wrong. I know that
Yeah.
I am no boule nephew, but wouldn't at some point some of the shit they make them do on Traders and Claim to Fame just be doing drag queens in Dragula? Like, wouldn't it just be like, because they actually eat bugs on Claim to Fame?
yeah. No, I mean, I would not.
eaten dragonflies in the workroom before, so
Yeah, I was gonna say,
was
I
for
mean,
fun.
remember season 2, the eating challenge? They've been there on Drag Race. I would not want
back then, but Rue.
I would not want that. I wouldn't want to see that because then how are the girls going to graduate to Traders? Come on, Bob the Drag Queen and Peppermint. But I would like, that's kind of what I was getting at when I was saying, like, I would like for Rue to be like, you guys have permission to be really wild with this stuff and like to introduce more gameplay elements, things like immunity, but like really, something they never talk about on the show, we never see, but like you will hear about this at Roscoe's, you'll hear like Alaska and Willem talking about this on their podcast, you hear people talking about it. The girls all have producers that work with them specifically, that got them cast on the show, that will say things to them like, hey, if you snipped Angeria this week, that would be a really great storyline. And, that the producer is not saying, you need to snip Angeria. And there's not necessarily like you will be let go from the show when you don't do what they say, but you do understand when you like are part of the reality TV world that like when somebody comes to you and says that stuff, you want to pay attention because that is how you get favorable edits. That is how you get more screen time. And there's some things with this season where it feels like I'm very curious to know what was being said to the girls, if anything was being said, if there was an intention. And I felt the same way about season 16, again with the immunity potions, where I was just kind of like, did somebody not talk to them about making better decisions with how these got used for the show? Like, so that there was some tension with the immunity potions instead of what actually happened with them, which was just like fizzle to the nth degree.
Yeah.
And so, like, I don't want to see them do traders challenges, but I do want to see them do, you're the traitor, bitch. Like, I want to see.
Yes.
You're the biggest fucking traitor here.
I want to see that. I want to see them deliberate around a table. I want to see some very stupid strategy employed to the highest possible level.
Whereas Alan walks around the table, Rue would just kind of be on a very, like, steady segue. Now, one of you, I am not walking in these heels. Like, you know what I mean?
If they gave Rue a segue, she would be unstoppable.
I really think if RuPaul had a
think
segue.
that.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, well, now we've just started talking about the RuPaul segue project.
We need
Let's
a better
get back-
segue, is what we
Well-
need.
Well, so then let's
That was
segue.
good.
I want to just kind of like dial into the spooky McNuggets that each one of these girls summoned up for this challenge. I think each girl sort of did the best thing they could, with two exceptions. We talk sometimes about how there are like roles that are great and roles that are terrible. You've got to be Valentina bad to fuck up Angel and Ren. But there are plenty of...
That is so unfair.
It's not her fault. It's not her fault.
That is
But-
so unfair.
You've got to
I've
be
never seen it.
Tay Diggs.
I didn't watch that one.
Oh, you're lucky. You've got to be Tay Diggs in the role of Benny to bring it to life, because Benny is just a very flat character, to use two Rent characters. The role Nina got, first of all, having a white person play it, not my favorite. We need fewer white queens coming in and doing their best impression of a gospel revival to make Rue laugh. But the other side of it, it was just sort of like a boring role that she really brought to life. The other really terrible role that was maybe not acted to the most perfection in the entire world was Sydney, played by Chanel, which watched like a background character in an 80s movie, but not in an engaging way. I don't know. It had nothing to do with Chanel's performance, but that was not the role.
I don't know. It felt like the landlady in Basket Case, who I think was also a drag queen, like one of those kinds of things. But I actually, when Chanel and Angeria came out, I was like, okay, Chanel is holding her own. This is going well. This is great. And then Plastique came in and I went, oh, I'm sorry, Chanel. Like, I think Chanel did great. I think she stuck with her character. She did the whole thing. I don't think it was as big and amazing and great as the other girls, but I thought Plastique killed this in a way that was unreal.
This gets into the other thing that just sort of, even though I really enjoyed it and I had no notes in terms of being like, this was fucked up, that was bad, I also noticed, it made me reflect on the fact that sometimes the stuff that's bad in other seasons is stuff like they don't auto-tune them well so that they don't sound good. Everybody, you saw the vocals that they laid down. I thought everybody showed up really professionally, really confident. And that's the thing with singing is if you show up with some confidence, even if you sing poorly, it will sound good. Every time a girl sounds bad on Drag Race, it's because she tightens up, freezes up, and then tries to sing and can't. All of that said, they made them sound very good. Vanjie did not sound that good on her cut recording. She sounded really confident, really good to go. It would have been a fun song,
She was
but they
doing the
made
Monster
it,
Mash.
yeah, I mean, they made it palatable to listen to. They really auto-tuned the shit out of her, which they should, as they should. 100%. The girls deserve to sound good, but the girls from seasons 12 through 16 also deserve to sound good at times when they laid down vocals, and they just didn't auto-tune them well. I felt like some people's choreography was tailored to them in a way that,
Jorgeous.
again... Jorgeous is kind of the bad example because she's actually a great dancer, and it was relatively complicated.
Oh, and so the other girls are terrible dancers. You guys heard it here. TK thinks the other 7 queens this season of RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars are terrible dancers.
Please
I mean-
at all of them in a tweet about this and cut the clip.
All of
So,
them.
yeah, so that they can respond to me directly and we can talk about this. But I do feel like the choreography was a little bit customized to ensure that nobody like face flopped. And again, there are other times where that has not been the case because it creates drama, because it creates moments where you're like, well, that girl sucked. Again, it's that like, Thorgy thinking she got the worst cast role in the Rusical. I mean, like, there are just decisions get made. And this time, for this particular Rusical, it seemed like every decision was made to ensure that nobody looked terrible.
Well,
And,
well, I'm going to ask you a question about
Yeah.
about them not letting people look terrible.
Yeah.
We had a moment in this episode that I think needs to go down in history as perhaps being Glenn Close, but no cigar.
Weaver.
I could not believe how many times Vanjie got that line wrong. and I thought it was iconic because she was so confident every single time she was wrong. It was how she
This
was
is
really
the thing.
dumb. How did you feel?
This is the thing that I never understand. Where I've never done a reality show, but I feel like I've been in situations like this. But this and I was rooting for us are things where I'm like, I don't understand how you can be in that moment and keep getting it wrong. And I really try and empathize. I'm an empathetic person. I think I really do, and I just can't understand how you would be in a moment like this and not get it right. I mean, and maybe she did get it right and they cut it. Who knows? But I really
But how do you
wonder,
get to take 47?
how do you get to take 47? I really do wonder. And it drives me a little bit insane. It makes me really angry for no reason. I have no right to feel this way. But I just do not know how this happens sometimes. And it's one of those things where I'm like, maybe I could never be a drag queen because the thing that works in your mind that makes you incredible at everything else also means that you have this weakness where sometimes when a director is like, you have to say the word once, you cannot do it. But you can beat your mug till the end, till the world ends. And maybe that I would always get once, but my face would always look fucking terrible. And that's why I'm not a drag queen.
It's the same thing that it does to your brain that made Peppermint indict herself as a traitor on the first day of Traitors season 2.
Well, I am not a faithful. I mean,
I am a
obviously
faithful, and she was. She just misspoke. But drag queens have to compress all of their brain cells under those wigs, and I admire that.
Yeah.
So, did anybody else think When Gate was amazing? Because Kevo even said like they should have just let her change the lyric, and I'm like, no, there was backup vocals. They can't. Everybody else sang,
and I get that.
Yeah. How did you guys feel?
She was never impatient, which I appreciated. It's when the person doing it is like, I'm fine.
It's when it's Fat Professor saying, I want one goddamn normal expression out of you.
No, that was the photographer who's now the gay guy on Only Murders in the Building.
Who is now also rumored for the cast of Global All Stars.
I've seen this going around, and I was like, "There's 20 people on this."
One skate. This happens a lot, and we see this with a good amount of vocal challenges, whether they're singing for a Rusical, whether they're singing for a remix, or whether they're doing the original song. Sometimes people will get a lyric and they just cannot get it, and something about it is just like their brain, it makes sense to do it the way that they said it. It is one of those things where I get in the moment, like you're trying to I gotta nail this, and I gotta nail the take. Okay, but I also have to remember I have to say once here. And I can get why the second thought, especially for maybe someone like Vanjie, whose maybe thoughts are a little more not that the brain power isn't fully there, but I still love her. Is
a lot of cheetah print thoughts.
A lot of cheetah print thoughts. A lot of Hoey cheetah print thoughts, and thinking about Brooke. I get that, especially when you want to do well, and I think that's part of why we saw her break down a little bit on the runway, similar to how Jorgeous felt in the advert challenge, where Jorgeous felt a little embarrassed because she's like, I want to do well, I want to impress you, I want to prove why I deserve to be here. I think Vanjie sort of felt those same feelings with this, because this is things that she does. She's a great singer, she's a great rapper, she can dance, she can move, and she has a great stage presence, so this is something that should be within her wheelhouse. Definitely. And I could see her getting a little upset with herself that she wanted to deliver. She wants to win. Everybody there wants to win. So when she kind of had that moment on the runway, I was like, okay, I kind of really get it, because for them, this is very important to them. This is one of the biggest things they could do for their career. And I mean, when you look like this on the runway, when you come out in this, I mean, you shouldn't be crying because you look freaking phenomenal.
A lot of tears for amazing.
Can't believe she's got chlamydia and she's just showing it on the runway.
I also think that part of that breakdown on the runway is the fact that her being sent home on, 11, was on the singing, dancing, do it all in one take, isn't it great? And her heel snapped, I think, and it threw her, and she bombed it. It was not good, her solo section, and it cost her. And I think that this was one of their I did the thing real quick, real fast, real good. So she was excited to feel the love.
I love it. I love how we just talked about Vanjie, who got like no love from the judges this week. I'm gonna give her love. Like I think when you talk about your favorite drag queen's favorite drag queen, and she's now managed to lose 2 seasons, it's really interesting because here is someone who frankly has the talent to host this show like it was her own, judge this show like it was her own. She is, while I do believe we still continue.
I'm sorry, are you still talking about Vanjie?
No, I'm sorry, Roxxxy. I said from one.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
Oh my God, because they were both in 2 seasons. Shut up.
Well,
Good job,
and I'm over here being like, the drag queen's favorite drag queen. I was like, that's Sasha Colby. She hasn't lost anything.
No, it's Roxxxy was the original your drag queen's favorite drag queen, and
From the show.
Yes, that was like her bit. We're doing a little project where we're trying to come up with things about each season, and like one of the things that I thought was really incredible is I don't know that I've ever seen this from Roxxxy in my entire life. I thought that her performance as Eva Perón is good, but maybe gets a little more love than it should. And maybe it's just one of those things you don't want to bring up the other person that performed as Eva Perón ever. But, it's what it is. I thought that this was such an undersung example of where an artist was willing to be physically in pain. Now, if she was a singer, she wouldn't be able to do that every night and continue singing. She'd throw her voice out. But what Roxxxy did for one piece of art, for one night, for one example of excellence, this is maybe I don't think she should have won, unfortunately, but this is one of the proudest I've been of her as an artist. I think she gave everything in a way where I could see your drag queen's favorite drag queen creating art. It was very exciting to
If you showed this to me out of context, I would have no idea who that is. Her makeup
exactly
for this episode as Pennywise, which that was the only character's name that they didn't change, which was very weird, is so out of this world of like unrecognizable, and like her just going for it. You kind of give her the season.
Yeah,
like she didn't win this challenge. I hear what you're saying, that I don't think she won the challenge, but for someone to commit to this level, and just the artistry here is just so incredible.
Unparalleled.
Mama, it's over. It's a wrap.
Brilliant.
Call those Christmas elves. It's a wrap.
Okay, but now I'm gonna break in because, yes, she was great, but I don't know that this is the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. I don't know that this is the season, and I think everyone did a really just as amazing job in a lot of ways. I especially think Got Mix was very good, and
that spinning wig.
I really again felt that Jorgeous, holy crap, kills this. Megan being such a zeitgeist, she got the look and she also got the movements, which were not easy. And she said she was nervous, and she should be, because something we talked about was, yeah, they are going to ding you if you both are too robotic and not robotic enough, because these judges are like that. So she really had to walk a line.
One, can you go back to that picture of the just Jorgeous, her face? She looks so insanely good here. It's like my mind.
She looks AI.
Comprehend. She looks gorgeous. Not that I think every queen should be doing these ice blue contacts. I think it's also we're getting close to retiring them, but she, like, her in this very natural, like, honey blonde hair. Her makeup looks so gorgeous. She looks great in this outfit, and as Kevo said, she nailed it. I think mostly everyone here can talk about how often I do the Megan dance because of how impacted.
Oh, you are obsessed.
I'm obsessed. I went to go see that in the movie theater by myself, and I laughed my ass off. It was the greatest movie in the entire world. Not really, but it was a really good, dumb, campy time. So to see someone like Jorgeous, who on her original season, they talked about part of her storyline this episode was she was in the bottom for Moulin Rouge, which is a great Rusical. It was, and she didn't even do bad. Everybody else just happened to shine just a little bit brighter, and so there's that kind of idea in the back of her head, I imagine, of I really have to nail this. I already failed at this once. I can't fail at it again. And she was one of them that I would also try to look at how everybody is reacting on stage. One of the things I think about a lot is Jinx Monsoon season 5, the telenovela challenge. She says acting is about reacting. Every time someone says something, I want to react to it. How do you give big? And
Not
so
bad.
something I often do is look at how, when they're in a scene, how do these queens react when the camera's not on them? Because that's the real key. You can deliver great lines when the camera's on you when you're there, but if you shut down and you go back to your normal self when the camera's not focused on you, you're going to lose some points when it comes to acting. Jorgeous was doing a lot of it when she did this, but she did it in a way where it wasn't the Jorgeous way. It was, I am a doll, I am a robot. She just kind of knocked it out of the park. We're just going to sing praises about Jorgeous.
And I really especially applaud Rue including a character like that, because she can kind of lean more toward the classics, and putting in such a more recent modern horror figure, I really love.
Jonah, I wish you had not said anything, because I'm now trying desperately to figure out why Pennywise is the only name that was not changed. I'm thinking it's because Pennywise is just a phrase, like, or it's just a word, like it just can describe somebody.
I would have loved like Penny Dumb.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very
Nickel
curious.
Penny
Like,
stupid.
yeah,
Penny
that would
stupid.
have been very funny.
Pennywise.
Because
And-
also the name that they chose for Gottmik didn't make sense, because that character is Reagan, but they didn't choose like a similar name.
Linda
They
Blair.
Well, it's Linda Blair.
Linda Blair plays the character.
Yeah.
okay, that
People
makes
don't
much more
remember
sense.
that. They remember
Yeah.
Calling it Blair.
Yeah. And then, I mean, I assume Chanel Sydney is Sydney from Scream.
Which
Like that.
Then
I mean, that's not who she's playing, but I figured that was
Yeah.
the name they were referencing.
I agree.
Because that's not none of the neighbors in Rosemary's Baby are named Sydney, I don't think.
And that is where sometimes what we're saying is like the best they're doing is throwing together pastiches.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Tropisms.
Tori, was it you who said that, or was it Kevo who said that you like that as like a genre, a subgenre of the Rusical? I kind
mean,
of
I
agree. Yeah, like because it gives you more to think and talk about, because you kind of get to pay attention to the references a little bit, where it's just like if it's the Sound of Rusic, you're like, okay, that's just Brigitte, that's just the the
Right.
Mother
And
Superior.
by doing pastiche, you can pull people in who don't know as much about the actual
Yeah.
like horror genre.
And you
Like,
can mix
like,
the
that kind of
character with a totally different genre of song that the character is singing. I think let's really safely never try and do these as Rue songs that get remixed, because that's just too much stuff happening.
Oh, good.
Hey,
But I
werewolf
do-
girl, you're a monster.
I do want to give Nina
Dracula.
credit. Nina is probably the only person who knows who Zelda Rubinstein is and could do like a solid Zelda Rubinstein impression. So I guess maybe Chanel, but Chanel couldn't do the impression. Maybe knows who.
Right, that's the thing. I think I do think Angeria would have been a great the preacher song would have been fantastic, but I
Yeah.
don't know if her Zelda Rubinstein would have been like on it.
Yeah.
So
Well, so now I do want to say, was there anything from all of horror that you maybe felt was like missing here? I do think that maybe I would have loved a ghost face of some kind.
Yeah. I can't
because
believe you're not saying your big one.
I think Alien is so sci-fi. I think. Oh, and The Conjuring, though, there'd be absolutely nothing to represent from The Conjuring either. So, like,
You do
Lord
Annabelle.
have a- you don't need
What's the other one with the guy where there's always the demon in the background and Barbara
Insidious.
Hershey's in it? Thank you.
Insidious, yeah.
That little demon would have been great.
Yeah.
There's just some like good horror tropism missing. Like, I'm
Yeah.
not saying do the Jersey Devil or like I don't know what else is scary in New Jersey. The Pine
Clan.
Barrens, but
Is it that just where the Jersey Devil lives?
that it is, but it's also where the clan is.
No, Michelle lives in LA now.
Ah, this bitch. I would have loved like a Midsummer or a Hereditary.
I would have loved Freddy Krueger. I think that's
Yep.
really that's one
Yeah.
that a lot of queer people
Yeah.
latch onto as a villain is Freddy
Yeah.
Krueger.
Oh.
I think that
Billy. Isn't that the name of the doll from Saw?
yes.
I think so.
Yeah.
Jigsaw, well, yeah, the Jigsaw puppet is it?
But I mean, the
Puppet
doll.
has its own name.
But
the
now
doll's
that
name is
we're there,
Jigsaw.
we're talking Chucky.
Right, but
Yeah.
also you can save those things. Like you can save all
Well,
your
that's-
Freddy Kruegers for your like the slasher Rusical.
I was going to say
coming
clearly
2025.
they have enough in the chamber for at least another one of these, and I think that is probably for the best.
Mm.
Oh, what's the if they're gonna do part 2 to this? What's the is it Antichrist? Which is
What?
You want the Omen 666.
Yeah,
you.
no,
Thank
that's
you.
it. I don't want to watch anybody
do not do
smash-
Antichrist. That
yeah,
would be
no,
the most
nobody
upsetting.
smashing
Thank you.
Willem Dafoe's dick to death.
Omen.
Lars von
where it's
Trier
You want
is
the
the
Omen.
birthday
Antichrist.
party.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You can literally
Damien's
just
birthday
redress
party.
As,
Yeah.
as the Omen birthday party, as like an Omen.
Wildly,
birthday.
there is
Oh,
a
yeah.
book sequel to
Oh, I love
Rosemary's
that.
Baby too.
Yeah, there is.
It is terrible.
It's one of those My So-Called Life book sequels.
Or Clarissa
So-
Explains It All.
I actually, the one thing I want to ding this on, because I'm pretty sure these are all costumes that they were handed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So why Vanjie is that specific Satan was a question that I had conceptually.
What
Because-
Satan might you have proposed?
So as someone who has not seen Rosemary's Baby, I've always been under the impression that you would get like a creepy kind of thing. I think the costume didn't. The lyrics were about finding your group and we'll do our thing and it's all good if you leave us alone, kind of stuff. I don't know if the costume matched that either. So I think they just went, oh, we have Vanjie? Great. Latex, corset.
I think I have a vibe
It
on
feels
it.
very generic.
Okay.
It feels like at some point we all sort of said we can identify one version of certain things, and for that matter, kind of like every cowboy either looks like Woody from Toy Story or Timothy Oliphant dressed as Woody from Toy Story in my fantasies.
Yeah.
I think at some point we sort of defaulted most sexy devils to him from the Powerpuff Girls.
Yep.
And
Literally.
at all times, it just sort of seems like Vanjie's out here giving tooth decay.
Yeah.
It's always him, which it always cracks me up because him from the Powerpuff Girls is specifically clearly meant to be a drag queen dressed as Santa Claus.
The original they them.
Like
Yeah.
Angel from Rent, who came out right around the same time, a drag queen dressed as Santa Claus.
In a
So-
tutu. Wow.
Yeah,
It's pretty much the promo shot. Yeah.
it is literally the promo shot for Rent. Angel is almost identically what him has worn for the
Yikes.
last 40 years or 30 years of animation. So it's funny. Talking Rusicals. Holy guacamole.
You never see the baby in Rosemary's Baby, so
Right.
there's nothing really to pull.
This is a real Bird Box situation.
Hey, another great one. The aliens from Quiet Place.
The
Contact.
alien
Yes.
from Cloverfield, if you're not paying attention.
What's the one? Signs.
Yep.
Nice.
Yep.
We can
got a
end
lot of
Night
options.
Shyamalan through a bunch of things in that one.
Absolutely.
Ooh, a whole Rue Night Shyamalan musical.
Mhm.
The
That
twist
Night
is
Shyamalan. That's a great title.
so anyway, this did feel a little like if you took the top hat off, she's just in red.
Yeah.
She's just
yeah.
Michelle.
Like throw the little tail on that she can swing.
And
Yeah,
Yeah.
give her a pitchfork. I think you're right. And like also the him reference really kind of makes me rethink it entirely in terms of like really glam it up.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I feel like if Gottmik can look like that for The Exorcist and Roxxxy can look like that for Pennywise, it would have been fun to glam Vanjie up a little bit as the devil. But at the end of
Or
the day,
like really horror her up, like all of a sudden, like she's got the satyr legs and
Yeah.
the hooves and the whole 9 yards. Like,
yeah,
It's that 5 out of the 3 of these girls look nice, and
Mhm.
5 out of the 8 look okay, and 3 out of the 8 look amazing, and so that's just kind of a weird imbalance.
yeah.
I also think Chanel is. I even know what they're trying to do, but Chanel and Angeria feel like they are in a different challenge.
Yeah.
Visually
Yeah.
even.
Well,
I
and I
don't
think
think it's their fault.
no, it's definitely not their fault. But I also
That's
think the
true.
makeup, the way they made up for that was the fact that their roles were bigger. They really didn't have that. I come in, I do my song, I'm out. The Angie, Chanel, and Plastique had to be pretty present throughout the whole thing. And I sort of feel like the balance on that is that while their looks were all really good and really cool, they're just, even Plastique, who looked gorgeous, you're not really, it's never gonna come up the way you're always gonna think about how Roxxxy like left it all out on the table to give us that look.
Jonathan Groff in Hamilton. He's in 32 seconds of the entire show, but everybody remembers every one of the King's songs. Just
We could have really referenced literally anything else.
Andrew Rannells in Hamilton as the king.
Fine, that's acceptable.
That's fair.
Is it really? Is that what we're at?
Jonathan Groff has horrible dead eyes and is the worst person on the planet.
I would like
So
to
are you.
congratulate.
We still
At
love you.
him, clip this and at him.
I would like to
fully
congratulate the man who called Madonna a bitch on his
Where are my
Tony.
pillows?
I'm very excited that we're having a Sondheim Assance, that this has been a really great season for Sondheim, and I'm bringing it up directly in relation to this because I do wonder if, as culture continues to recognize the validity of things like video games, anime, musicals, this rediversification of already fascinatingly diverse sub-mediums and subgenres that continue to proliferate what we consider the standard experience. One of the greatest experiences I've had in my last couple of years of watching TV has been the joy of experiencing Grey's Anatomy with Kevo and with TK and Jonah, and it's just been such a good time. And talking about it with my mother, whose favorite show it was for quite a while. And one of the things that it gives me is a chance to see where things shifted in social discussion. Like when they introduced that Bailey is a big sci-fi nerd and she actually loves Star Wars. It's a radicalization of the expectations of a Black female scientist that she would then
2007.
that she would then also be something else that is considered somewhat subversive to the expectation of the experience. So then when you get something like the interpolation of horror conceptuality into a musical framework that is probably the most genuine musical framework the show has showcased without Adam Shankman at the helm, which, by the way, Adam Shankman called me, oh my God. And so I just really feel like one of the things that we're seeing here is an attempt to elevate the artistry by elevating the artists into the best form of the artistry, which is where I think we're a little disappointed for Chanel, for Angeria, not disappointed with them or in them, but for them, that the material fails to create an equally compelling group of roles, such that I am kind of left saying Chanel deserves a win for a lot of things because she stands up there week after week, and you know what? She is beautiful. But she is, but this was not the week that she deserved a win for, because this was not a win for this role.
I sort of, if that's the case, I think it's all coming out in the wash, because Roxxxy got a couple wins where I was like, she's awesome, but I don't really think she was the best. There have been a few of those. It has been a weird season for giving people the wins that they don't necessarily deserve. Again, I think it's related to the fact that nobody goes home, so it's much more difficult to see. You're not paying attention to like, what is the basement here? What is this sub basement? Who really flopped? You're paying attention to, all right, who's going to be at the top and who's going to kind of fall by the wayside. But I will say, like, it's tough because Roxxxy really gave, so many people gave so much when it came also to their vocal performances. But Chanel was principally the person who said, I cannot sing, I do not sing, I'm nervous about this. And then she is the first example you see of somebody doing this thing that I always am like, every drag queen needs to do this. We talked about it when we were rating the Rusicals, but she found what she was good at. She applied it to the challenge. She found a voice that worked. She showed up so confident. And while she clearly cannot sing and clearly should not have been up there like attempting to belt or trying to give like that really sad drag queen, ha, 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 where they just are desperately trying to get through it. She recorded that whole track in a way that is going to work, and she was the first one. She's the one that sticks out in my mind, even though I can say, like, objectively probably other queens did it better for the challenge. I still think everything about it was really good, and I'm comfortable with it at the end of the day because I do think she should have gotten an earlier win in places where other girls who I don't think should have gotten it got the win.
Sorry, there was a little desk quake. My apologies. I love that. I really do. Does anybody else have strong feelings either way about this win, and whether it was, maybe that it really is all comes out in the wash? Was this just fair? Did we just dry clean the win to Chanel?
Was this produced?
I think it was because they wanted, like I said this at the beginning of the season, everybody was going to win one challenge. And they had not given Chanel a win yet. And because she did have an amazing night, they wanted to make sure they can highlight her and make sure that she can go home feeling good that I did win a challenge. And this is also Chanel's first challenge win since All Stars 1, where she won them with Chad. Not to say that Chad carried her, but this is Chanel's first solo win. She didn't win a challenge on season 1, and all 3 of her wins on All Stars 1 were with Chad. And then Chad ended up winning the season. And Chanel wasn't even in the top 2 for that. So, like, there's sometimes almost a chip on the shoulder of, like, you got to do well. I have to do something. And I think they just wanted to make sure that they're highlighting everybody that they can. Not to say that Chanel can't win next week or the week after, but I think they saw the opportunity for someone who was nervous about singing and choreography, which isn't her full gig, and the fact that she did as well as she did, they wanted to say, we want to reward you for what you did. We appreciate it. Was she my number 1 of the night? No, but I do think it makes sense that she got the win.
She is not an undeserving performer or queen, but did she necessarily deserve this win? I don't think so. Was it perhaps more from a production standpoint? I do think so. Is that reality television? You bet your goddamn ass it is. Whose name is on the door, as I always say? It is RuPaul is on the door. So, if she wanted to make sure that someone who has been a part of the franchise from the very beginning got a more prominent role in the final arc of this season, I understand.
I'm pitching this right now. Rumpelstiltskin, Once Upon a Time, Rusical. Come on.
I love it.
Rumpelstiltskin
wears like a mask or something. I love it.
I agree.
She paints herself green because if you didn't know, sorry, go ahead.
It's your color, Michelle.
I agree with Jenna and Kevo. I think this is a very production-based decision. I think probably Nina's producer was like, "You should give it to Chanel. You guys are such friends." Back. And when she didn't, because out of all of them, I think Nina's probably the least likely to be influenced by producers for what she does, for what she's interested in doing. I think they kind of were like, could be worse, but like, I just think that they expected Chanel to have at least one for their math to work, and then they panicked when like it just wasn't shaking out properly. Like there was no way that up until this point, unless they did heavy editing, that it would have been like, Chanel's, sure, we accept her in the top. And so I think they really panicked. And so I think they gave her a very, very, very favorable edit in this. On top of her excellent hard work and coming in with so much confidence and doing very well. Like we said, nobody did bad here. Chanel did really well. Very proud of her singing as someone who does not sing and should not sing. Very, very proud of her. I was hoping for her to win it, and then everyone else came out, and then I was like, I don't know if she's gonna. So I'm happy for her. Did I cry when she got it? Yes. Did I cry again when she handed her pin to Jorgeous, and then Jorgeous turned around and handed her pin back? Double yes. Deep sobbing, couldn't handle it. Chanel deserves a little friend who's so much younger than her and thinks she's so great. And I just think Chanel deserves that.
Oh, the fact that everyone, like, the Angeria and Gottmik were so happy that she won, and were like, everyone was so happy that Chanel won, I think, because they all just love Chanel, and they want her to do well.
And so do we.
And so do we. I have been saying for weeks how much I wanted. Week after week, I have been saying I wanted Chanel to win. And they have not given her a badge.
She is a winner.
She is a winner. Give her a badge.
She's world famous.
She is world famous.
It's also a riot that they even bring that up. Like, she's like, I feel weird because I left the show, and she still did not get a win then. Like, that was totally a week after week moment, and they still did not give her a win. And I do think at the very least, I like that she got, because the week that came up would not have been a good week for her to win. And I like that it wasn't that often drag race thing that happens where they're like, oh, we're referencing this on the show this week. Now it's coming back at the end when we're giving, when we're cutting people or announcing winners, and it feels a little weird. You're just like, I get that this is produced, but this is a little too produced. I really like that we did have that moment. I think it is smart to acknowledge and a little funny. Like, I'm glad that she talked to Rue about that and, announced her insecurities and worked through it. And then we didn't talk about it again. We did a totally other thing that week. And then this week she won. I don't know. It's, again, like little things that are building everybody up. Which is what I like about this season. I think it's great to build the girls up. It does, every time they do some of it, it makes me reflect on all the weird things where people are getting upset about stuff, and I'm just like, you guys, there's no stakes here, but how great you do. It's like you're all gonna be doing, so don't feed into the drama, because also nobody's cutting it right for you, so you all just seem insane when you fight about absolutely nothing.
And for charity.
For charity. And you know what charity couldn't even save? Was this lip sync. And it's not the girl's fault. I do not think this was a good song. Jorgeous tried so hard, and so did Chanel.
Yeah.
Christine W. is a legend. And we should have done one more try. And it should have been one of those bumpin' crazy remixes of that deep one more try thing that she does. That's so good. This woman plays like 30 instruments. She's the child of world famous jazz musicians. She writes her own music. She produces her own music. She is a legend in the European house music scene. This was a terrible song.
I thought it was a really, I liked the song. Like, I thought it was a really fun song. It just didn't work for this. Yeah.
I was gonna say, like, I love Pink Pony Club by Chapel Roan. I do not think that would be a good lip sync song.
Yes.
It has a little
valleys.
bit of a... Yes, it's not... You either need to do a full
They're gonna
ballad.
try.
You need, I think, the best...
No, it needs to be a whole number. Like, you bring your equipment to the stage to...
It needs to be the Code by Nemo.
You need to be like at a fake piano when it starts, and then the piano turns into your dress when the beat actually picks up.
And then you reveal a pink pony underneath.
Precisely.
Yeah,
it's alive, and you have dyed the pony pink.
I will be the pink pony.
That's funny. I think there's a lot of Chapel Roan songs that would not work. They've got like a couple they would be lucky to get. The good news is the best songs are probably the cheapest ones, because the singles, I don't know. Anyway,
Feminine M&M or whatever she said.
This was another. I feel like the guest was probably selected for an idea for a challenge that either didn't happen or is happening a different episode. And then scheduling wise, the person that was supposed to be here, it was like Nev Campbell, but then she couldn't do it because they've figured everything out. Now she has to be on Scream. And so they're like, it's just Christine W for the Scream challenge. And like, this is one where I would have liked RuPaul to go into the workroom and be like, this legend who you guys are lucky to meet, and like give a little bit of history. Because I imagine a lot, if you're like, again, like not much younger than us, like younger than us or below, or you're not into European house music. This is like not somebody who you're gonna know, but you
like
should.
Jorgeous does not know who this is.
The Jorgeous absolutely does not know who this is. Not
That's
even
fine,
one little bit.
Well, I don't think Nina does either.
Well, and it's one of those things.
I believe Nina would, but
there's an episode of UK. I think it's UK season 4. Which UK just happened? 4 or 5?
5.
5.
There's an episode of 5 where they cover, where they use Livin' Joy's Dreamer. And I was so excited because that's like one of the most staple pieces of European house music ever. That like I immediately covered it and it's in our loop. It's one of the only pieces in our loop that is exclusive to one of the foreign versions. Because I'm telling you right now, guys, I'm going to do the most killinest version of Holy Guacamole. You can't even believe it. I also want to say, as we wind this boy down, as we get this crazy girl to bed, as we rest this doll, I'm really reaching the point though where I think the finale era, the final 2, is going to be a 2-part finale that's actually a crossover with one of Rue's other hit shows, Lingo. And she's going to start pulling out balls.
Get out.
And she's going to go, if your name starts with an S and ends with an L, you get 9 badges. You're still in the running. Great. Off the stage. Nina, no one expected you to win, so I just pulled a ball that says Nina gets shit. Jorgeous, you're so cute. Do the hand thing. 3 badges for you. Okay, go. And like
we would eat it up, and it would do nothing for the ratings of Lingo. Continue.
It would truly. And like, part of the problem is I don't think Jorgeous can spell. So there are some concerns with doing that crossover too tight. I love Jorgeous. We need to be clear. I think she is such a wonderfully talented person. I'm just playing on the fact that she herself says she is the dumbest girl. But end of the day, I do think we are reaching the point where none of the numbers matter. It is coming to find that all of the voting for the Grammys are done by the world at large, who receive secret ballots, except the big 3 awards, record, song, and album of the year, which are voted on by a secret cabal of like 38 people. And that's how those get picked. And so like it's just understanding that all accolades are kind of bullshit. But the badge math is literally just about kind of putting these girls through their paces.
So the badge math is, if we are going to go off the little trailer they had at the end of the episode, is that because everyone has at least 2 and there's a bunch of people with 4, they're probably at some point going to give out at least 3 badges.
That'd be the one.
To me, that sounds like 3 badges to the winner of the lip sync Lollapalooza, and maybe second place gets 1 and they both get to hand out another one. Something like that.
I think similar to All-Star 7, the last episode, which would be episode 11, will be a talent show that gives away 3 badges to the 2 people in the top.
I would also love it if the judges get to give out a bonus badge to their favorite lip sync of the night. That would be cute.
Ooh.
Just like, they should just start dishing out badges because they mean nothing.
I mean, I do, again, this speaks to the idea that, like, I want to see gameplay. Like, make it about the game. Make it about getting badges.
Charity, but make it cutthroat.
Ooh, or what if
not just cutthroat, but like play the game, do the badge math.
What
and like,
if you could give up a badge to stick around for another round of lip sync?
Yeah, something like that. Like
where you're betting down 1 to get
still a
3.
badge.
Like, and I mean, we're turning this, like, I'm in my mind, I'm like,
Trade.
as we pitch this, it's whose drag is it anyway, where everything's made up and the points don't matter. Like, have a little fun with it in that way, because nobody's going home. Like,
trade a badge now for money, but lose the opportunity for more money later, but have guaranteed money now. Because one of the things, I forget who said it this episode, but someone basically said, yeah, I've won no money for charity.
Plastique.
Plastique.
That is
Plastique has won no money for her charity.
0 money.
Which is good, because her charity might be kind of a fraud.
Well, yes, but the concept, this should also perhaps be vetted a little better. But the concept of you've won no money for your charity, why did you show up to play this game? It's not for yourself. It's for a charity. This is supposed to be something. When the losing family on Celebrity Family Feud, they still give you a donation because that's what people want to see.
Which is absolutely what's going to happen. At the end, they're going to announce that everybody got $5,000 or $10,000 for their charity.
I do hope that they even give, like, for every badge you've won, you'll get $2,500 for your charity. Something
for sure.
like that, where even then, if Plastique doesn't win the lip sync, she still made money for her charity by winning challenges. Yeah. Nobody's going to go home with 0 money. We're going to point that out.
That's not happening.
Of course.
I would love it if they could cash out badges.
Yeah.
I think they're going to do at the end.
Yeah.
I think I think for the queens that don't make, because it's going to be a top 3. We do know this. We know it's going to be top 3, whichever 3 have the most amount of badges. Which right now it's currently Jorgeous, Roxxxy, and Plastique. I do not know if that top 3 will stay.
Yep.
Unlikely.
You know, stranger things have happened, and things are wild. But I do think they're going to have the other 5 queens. They're not going to go home. They're still going to participate in the finale, even if they're not eligible for the crown and the $200,000 for their charity. I do hope that either they trade the badges in for something.
It would be interesting.
Not all be for not.
It would be interesting if, because they are going to work really hard to make sure that Shea Coulee never looks bad, that they engineer a situation where everybody winds up with the same number of badges at the end. And then they say, those of you who don't wish to compete and would like to cash out your badges for $10,000 a badge for your charity, you can choose to guarantee that much money for your charity. Because then first, second, and third place get this much each. Because, the reality is the component of both reality and competition. In this reality competition have gone tits up, and it's more just about watching who is going to get Tanner, Roxxxy, or Raven, but which one of them is more allowed to be that Dan. Anyway, I would love to get last thoughts. My final thoughts are, this is the best reason I've ever seen to never do another straight season of All-Stars. I would take an Olympic summer of All-Stars where it's 4 or 5 shows of 4 episodes. And like TK has been pitching forever, the first is the Comedy Olympics, the second is the Rusical, the third is fashion, and then the winner of each mini run competes for Pageant Queen of the Universe. And that's a summer event. It is 16 to 18 weeks. You do it with smaller groups each time, so it's not as much, but it would be a super all-stars. Because what we're running into now is, it's no longer the problem of RuPaul's Some Stars. Now it's the problem of RuPaul's All-Stars and their agents ensure a very even-keeled gameplay.
Yeah, I mean, to that end, I want redemptions. I want first out queens and queens who we've forgotten who did really badly, because those are great. What you just said is such a good example, because a lot of the queens that we have forgotten and who didn't do great don't have agents, or don't have agents with a lot of strong negotiating power. So to get girls in who aren't going to need diva treatment to show up, and to give them a chance to work, as a team, not worried about like a Roxxxy coming in and overshadowing them. I would love to get to see people's talents in that way, like people that we really have kind of forgotten about, people like LaShawn Beyond and the Princess, who, when you rewatch the show, you see like they're not the least bit untalented. There's absolutely nothing wrong with them. It's just there's minimum 10 girls. It's really easy to forget people. And if you go home early and don't get to show a lot, that's just sometimes what happens. I would still love to see so many of these girls back.
Tori, what are your final thoughts on this shebang?
I think I'm very much in love with the idea of All-Stars moving towards charity and sticking it to it. I think more queens would come back with the opportunity to show off for 8 to 12 episodes and do it for charity. I think I agree with you that it's getting a little blasé. It's getting a little everyone's too nice, but I like that, because I like seeing what everyone is really good at and what they all can do and stretch and do all kinds of things. So I'm always the person over here hoping for the great British drag off or something like that, where we all just get to bake cakes and be happy. So I like it. I think we should have fewer All-Stars. I think seasons. I think they should be more spaced out. We've talked about this before. Or that there should be you can't have been on one for 5 years and then you get to come back kind of thing. Like, stretch your legs and we'll see you in 5. 5 from filming will be nice. 5 from filming. Yeah. But yeah, so that's sort of where I hit. What about you, Jonah?
I definitely think I agree. I think if they did All Stars every few years, it would feel a little more special. Now that we kind of expect it, I think it doesn't feel as, when All Stars 2 came out, it was 4 years since All Stars 1, and we were like, we don't know if this is going to happen again. We don't know if this is going to do teams, because All Stars 1, it's none of the Queen's fault. Literally none of the Queen's fault that production was like, well, we want to do an All Stars, but we only have 6 episodes, so you're doing teams, but we still want 12 people.
Not cute.
No, not at all. And I do think, like I said before, with the advent of this episode, I do think people will go back and be like, no, actually, All Stars 9 was pretty good. This is a pretty good season.
I really loved something that Tori said, and I agree with it to a large degree. I like seeing the queens nice. I like seeing them well behaved. I like seeing it go in that direction for charity. And it speaks once again to something we bring up a lot on this show, which is then we need a perhaps diversity of content. And maybe we need to see a charity show with people being nice, and something that is more like Drag Traders, where people can still be cunty and you can make them eat bugs and they can get in near slap fights at a round table discussion, because, that is also entertaining in its place. And maybe we need to stop trying to put too many things into one show. Like that has been the problem with so many of the Rusicals. And once again, we covered on Friday night, we ranked all of the Rusicals. So definitely go back into our broadcast history and check that out. But sometimes that is the problem. The Rusical is trying to be too many things all at once. And if it can just focus on trying to do one thing really well, it'll end up being a better product. So maybe focusing on charity and people being positive and trying to do fun things nicely for charity in one competition, and another one where people can be a lot more cutthroat and do crazy stuff for another competition. And yeah, I think that would be really good.
Well, then I can't think of a better place to wrap this up. Kevo, would you start us off on the sun? Oh, now it's all in a different order. It was in one order, and now it's changed.
No, we'll go anti-clockwise. I'll still go first.
All right. Would you tell us where everybody can find you until they come back to this wonderful network for more wonderful programming?
Yes, you can find me over on all of these socials at Kevorelly, Kevoreally, and you can find me and us on this network doing amazing things. Like I pointed out, we ranked all the Rusicals. Earlier in the week, we talked about Celine Dion, and that has been an amazing video that's gotten a great response. We have a lot of other cool stuff we're going to be talking about this summer, more sci-fi, more Star Trek, more Doctor Who, lots of cool stuff, so definitely come back here, like, subscribe, and comment, and follow the rest of these crazy kooks at all their socials, starting with you, mister.
Me, hi, I am places at Peak Jonah, that's Peak. Last thing I want to say is, I think about other things that they could have referenced. Sweeney Todd. One of the best horror musicals. I think, other things they could have added to it, but what we got was great. Tori.
Nice. My name is Tori. You can find me on the socials at smtori. That's Tori with an I. I think one of the campiest horror musicals we got is Evil Dead the Musical. Highly recommend for anyone who doesn't know her. It's a grand old time, especially if you can see it live and sit in the splash zone. Next.
Dasme. You can find me at TK Elemental. I think I don't have any other final thoughts. Go, Nico.
Geez, I'm just waiting to be welcomed. So you can find me at Nico Action, that's NICOACTION, or check out my music at Nico Action Music, that's NICOACTION MUSIC. As for us, like Kevo said, do us 3 favors for us: like, comment, subscribe. We think you're really great. We love the amazing responses. We want to talk to more of you. We think you're incredible. But 3 things you guys need to do for yourselves. Number 1, you got to stay safe. Scary world. Number 2, you got to be brave, because no matter how scary it is, you're amazing. But number 3, evolve daily. Who you were yesterday, amazing. Who you are today, incredible. But who you're going to be tomorrow, that's what we can't wait to see. And so until then, we'll see you.